Hi, I'm Kathie Zipp with Brewing Business. Welcome to another edition of CBB on the Scene, a series in which we explore different regions of the country and their craft brewing scenes there. So we're still working on our Cleveland edition here. So we're in Market Garden Brewery, and I'm here with Pat Daniels. He is the director of brewing here. So welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
And let's get to the important stuff. What are we drinking today?
So we are drinking our Progress Pilsner. It's a German-inspired Pilsner. It's dry, it's crisp, great clarity. It's hop forward. And it's sharp and bitter, but man, it's sure enjoyable for Fridays.
Absolutely. It's nice and crisp, cold beer, good way to spend the afternoon.
One of my favorites.
Yes, excellent. So tell me a little bit more about the different types of beer that you do brew at Market Garden.
Yeah, we are definitely happy to be brewing lagers like we just had here, ales like IPAs, and sort of Belgian and Bavarian Hefeweizen, wheat beer, saisons, and wit styles as well. So as a brewer, it's kind of a pain to get started with all those different styles because they all demand a lot of different profiles and flavors and ingredients, but God, the end result's worth it.
I think so. So tell me a little bit more about your brewing capacity and the size of your brewery. What can you do here?
Yeah, we have a 35-barrel brew house. It is 3 vessels. We could expand it to about 5. Right now we can do 4 to 5 brews in a day, but we have it spec'd out and the ability to lay it out to do 8. Our yearly capacity is 12,000 barrels right now. That's with the fermenters that we have that you'll see later on in our tank farm. We can take that up by several thousand more once we take delivery of more tanks, but that is the cellar and the brew house. In packaging, we can and we bottle and keg on site. The canning and the bottler run at about 50 cans and bottles a minute, and we can keg about 20 kegs an hour.
Excellent. That's a lot of beer.
Yeah, and we just expanded into our barrel room, so we'll take a look at that later. It is filling with barrels, so I've got a sneaking suspicion we might have to find some more room.
Oh, well, we'll get to that later as well. So I kind of understand that the saying here is that farmers make wine, but engineers make beer. And it's ironic that the Germans are good at both. So can you tell me a little bit about what you mean by that and the different equipment that you do use to brew with?
Yeah, it's funny. Our brew house by Isan Huber, they are a brew house manufacturer in Bavaria. And this is the cradle of brewing. The best hops are grown there, the best beers come from there, and brewing equipment. They've probably been making brew houses in that region longer than we've been a country. I mean, they are fixated on perfecting this technology. So we were happy to work with them over a couple years to design this with expansion in mind, with different styles in mind, not just a single tract of, hey, we're only going to make IPAs or we're only going to make lagers. It was nice to be able to customize this to kind of fit our mold and our ability to grow and make different styles as we want to. So really happy to work with them on that. And yeah.
It's good. Obviously working.
Yeah, tastes like it.
Yes. So I always think it's interesting to kind of how breweries decide to whether or not to serve food and in what capacity. So all of your pub locations do offer food pretty much as full restaurants.
Oh,
so
yeah.
What kind of influences your decision about the food that you do serve and matching with the beers? How are you in your position involved in that conversation or decision, or are you?
That's a great question. It's always nice to see our chefs come over and ask questions about what's going to pair best with appetizers all the way to entrees and desserts. And one of the great abilities we have is at our pub, we have a 10-barrel system. So the range of beers we're making there covers everything from deep chocolatey stouts to very light fruit-based wit beers. And they can be woven into the menu and make delicious pairings. And beer dinners are something that we do host there. And it's really nice to work with the chefs. They'll use beer in the ingredients. They might even use some barley or some malt, some hops, things like that. And I would say, we're kind of like chefs in our own realm, so we have the same kind of mindset as the chefs. It's definitely the fun side, playing chef as the brewer. So
definitely sounds like a lot of fun. And so Give me an example. How do you pair beer with a dessert? What's an example of a good beer that would go with a good dessert?
Oh, absolutely. So we actually just released our seasonal American stout called Beastie. And what I love about that beer is it's roast, it's chocolate. It has a little bit of underpinnings of caramel too. And every time I think of that, I think of like a chocolate cake or anything with peanut butter in it, anything that has roast character, especially desserts that tend to be on the sweeter side, because what that bitterness does is it kind of picks it up and it balances it out. So you have a clean finish, even with something so hearty and robust as a dessert and a large beer like an American stout. It's really cool.
Sounds delicious. That is really cool. Just like wine and food, the beer and the food really pairing together can result in a whole different taste.
Oh, so. Yeah, definitely. And not just desserts too, the briskness of salads and vinaigrettes with sharp cutting acidity of beers like Pilsner and wit beer. Yeah.
Very cool. So last question, what else makes Market Garden beers unique? We're in an area here called Ohio City and there's multiple breweries. So how does your beer stand out, especially amongst those?
You know, I kind of go back to the range of styles that we cover and that we offer and that we like to brew. Everything from lagers to wit beers to, IPAs. It seems today's landscape in brewing, it's very IPA heavy.
It is.
They're great. They're delicious, and we love them too. But we like to kind of like bring ourselves to a little bit of a challenge and go for these styles that are just wonderful to drink. They're technically complex to brew sometimes. They can kind of be a pain, but it's so worth it in the end. And when I go around as a brewer and I visit other breweries, sometimes I don't see that interplay of lots of different styles. And so I could definitely speak for our team. We pride ourselves on going after the many of the brewing styles of the world. Yeah, definitely. And to second that, quality is a huge factor. Our commitment and our investment in our quality control labs has gone a long way. The price per barrel of beer that we dedicate to the quality side. It's kind of funny. I call it like the final interview. But actually there's like 50 interview questions before any of the beer leaves the building, just to make sure it's going to please everyone. So
that's another good point. So I know that you actually have a room with different doors in the wall.
Our sensory lab, that's right.
And so how do you use that's for tasting?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be doing one in about an hour. You should join us for it. I think today we're going to just be doing hop blends. So we're going to take a bunch of different hops, and basically the panelists will come through, and we're looking for the optimal hop blends for either dry hops or some sort of use. So we're not just sitting there saying, hey, this is a good beer or this is a bad beer. We're really mixing in all the ingredients that we as brewers use. They're like colors and paints for us as artists. So we need to assess them daily and see what we're working with. And blind sensory or any kind of controlled sensory is a huge part of what we do.
Right. Yeah. That's so cool. It's really interesting to learn more about what you do here at Market Garden. You're producing some great stuff. So thank you so much for speaking with me and telling me some more about it and sharing beer with me.
Happy to do it.
Cheers. Thank you so much, Pat.
Cheers.